Hi folks, Hank Pyro here. There's a lots of videos. I always want to do videos. I always like to do impromptu speaking, and I like commenting on the events of the day. And um, there's always a surplus of events that I want to cover. Of course, I never get around to covering near as many um, topics as I would like to, but I was going to do this, I was going to do that, going to do this, going to do that, and for whatever reason, I had to stop for a minute and just think about something I could never, ever, ever see. Um, that is the Donald Trump presidency and all the surprises that would come with that big surprise. If you had told me in, say, 1998, 2003, that Donald Trump would one day run for president, I would say, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. He would, but I would expect him to run as a Democrat, first of all. At least, I mean, that's all the way he contributed. He always cultivated celebrity friends. He had that sense of superficiality. The seemed like the ultimate um, style over substance kind of guy. And I never liked Donald Trump. I couldn't stand Donald Trump. He just nauseated me. He rubbed me the wrong way. I never watched a single episode of The Apprentice. I'm guilty of some inadvertent viewing on Celebrity Apprentice because I was chatting with somebody who happened to be watching Celebrity Apprentice, and I mean that was bad enough. It was one that had Geraldo Rivera in there running around trying to do something to please Donald Trump. I mean, what awful programming! Two of my least favorite people, and there they are, just doing whatever it is they were doing. I will say that circa 2006, I think it was 2006, Donald Trump was on the Howard Stern show, and I used to be a big, big fan of Howard. Will always have a great deal of respect for the man. I think he really is a genius, but that's another story for another time. He had Donald Trump on, and Trump was funny. I mean, really funny. He was a little bit crude, a little bit sexist, a little bit vulgar, perhaps. But man, he was funny and great. And I walked away from that with a higher respect for Donald Trump. I didn't see him as being just a gauche blowhard that, as I ought to always think of him. And on a larger topic, I sometimes think I had that sense of where things were going, or at least I thought I did. I mean, I had on matters of world affairs, public affairs, the collective future, that sort of thing. I thought I had a pretty good idea of how things worked and where we were going. Okay, now my understanding, or my sense of understanding, my estimate of my ability to comprehend the world and all of its variables and all of its complexities, it would be changed with Barack Obama. Specifically, that we would have a two-term president who was never, ever, ever vetted. I mean, even 2 years out of office, he still isn't vetted. There's still easily 24 significant unanswered questions about the guy. But that's another story. What's significant is that from that point onward, about 2008, everything kind of went silly. Some things were predictable, and some things we could not see coming at all. So I guess the reason why I'm bringing up Barack Obama and how unbelievable it is, that I still can't really come to grips with the idea that we elected an unvetted uh, candidate, and that we roughly, oh, three-quarters of the population have zero curiosity about who the man really is. They're afraid to look at the man behind the curtain because they'll never again see the wizard if they look at the man behind the curtain. And I guess that surrealism, something that did not seem possible, would soften me or prepare me for the arrival of what would seem to be very, very unlikely, the arrival of a President Donald Trump. I mean, after 8 years of absurdity, why not more absurdity? As I say, if you'd asked me years ago if I could see Donald Trump running, I'd say yes, he's running for. Um, he would run as a Democrat, and like I said, it's hard to project futures. Al Franken, and I read all of Al Franken's books. I think every last one of them. At one point, one of his books, he says, in I believe 1983, 1984, who would you have guessed would have had the better future, Cyndi Lauper or Madonna? And I think most people would have said Cyndi Lauper. But by the same token, I would have thought a lot of people versus Donald Trump would have had a brighter future, such as it would not have surprised me in the early 2000s or, maybe the mid 2000s if if you had told me that Michael Bloomberg might someday be president. That might not have surprised me at all. And I could kind of see, gazing into the future, the mid 2000s, what do we call that first decade, the aughts, 2005, 2006. If we project into the future, I could see where much more likely that Bloomberg would be president, and that Donald Trump would, in the future, raise a lot of money for the Democrats and for Democrat causes. That I could see. The role reversal, though, the trajectories they were on, seeing Donald Trump be president, and Michael Bloomberg, who started out as a Republican, became an independent, then became a Democrat, and then has become like this radical gun-grabbing nut. He I didn't see that coming. I mean, it made gun grab. It might be New York, have a bias against guns, but still, I didn't see him being who he is now, and I certainly did not see Donald Trump becoming president. So we do have to just sit back sometimes and take notice. And in some way, when you're so vastly wrong about where the future is going, where you look back where you thought it was going to go and it went in a completely different direction, one that you could not foresee in your wildest imagination, it's humbling. It is humbling. Yes, I didn't see any of this. I'm not sure exactly what happened circa 2008, but it seemed like everything went absurd right around there. Everything went in a very unpredictable fashion, and we still have not entirely gotten back on course. But in speaking with Donald Trump, yeah, it's fun to look back and think of what we had thought the public future would look like, what we thought public affairs would look like, our country would look like. But there are lots of surprises with Donald Trump. One is that I never saw him being a natural politician. He always seemed very stiff, very almost like a guy who's always I don't want to be crude, but like a guy who's constipated, like really bad. And he always seemed to be full of bluster, and I I would think that he would have had a hard time reaching people because he seemed like such a Democrat, an elitist, someone with a lot of celebrity friends. Because why not? He's a celebrity. Did not see him becoming the populist. Not see him being a natural politician. And who knew? Maybe if you knew him personally, I guess you had an inkling that he could speak extemporaneously to large crowds for an hour. Might have a little, maybe have a note here or there, a few bullet points that he keeps to himself. But, those at those rallies, he has topics that he wants to talk about, of course, but then it just goes off in a different direction. He can do tangents. He can do stream of consciousness, unlike any human being I can compare him to. I mean, I there are people on this channel. There are people in cyber video land who can do that sort of thing. But Trump's a master. He really is. Who knew that? Maybe he knew it. I did not know it. And I think the biggest surprise, even a bigger surprise, if you had said, long ago Donald Trump's going to be president, the bigger surprise than that is that Donald Trump would turn out to be, at least on the basis of his first almost 2 years, 21 months or so, that he would turn out to be one of the very best presidents America has ever had. Didn't see that one coming, but pleasant surprises sure are good, aren't they? Roll the credits. Roll the credits.